Hello, I'm Amanda, and the book I'm reading at the moment is Station 11 by Emily St. John Mandel. Here it is. It was written, I think, in 2014, and a friend recommended it, and I picked it up only recently and discovered that it is the narrative of a group of people who have survived the collapse of civilization as we know it as a result of a terrible and deadly pandemic called the Georgian flu. So all the echoes with the circumstance that we found ourselves in now and this fictional world are so clear that sometimes I walk and am thinking, I think about the real world, but find, of course, that the characters that I'm thinking about are those from the book. It centres around a young woman whose name is Kirsten, who was 8 at the time of the Georgian flu outbreak, which is known as the year of the collapse, and all the years subsequent to that are numbered. So most of the action takes place in year 20, but it also goes back to the year of the collapse and then seesaws back and forth with a strong cast of central characters, most of whom are in a troupe called the Travelling Symphony, whose chosen way of spending their time after the collapse is to move between the settlements of people who have banded together. Towns and cities have long since ceased to be. And the Travelling Symphony perform plays, and the plays they perform are Shakespeare. Here's the section where that is introduced. The symphony performed music, classical, jazz, orchestral arrangements of pre-collapse pop songs, and Shakespeare. They performed more modern plays sometimes in the first few years, but it was startling, what no one would have anticipated, was that audiences seemed to prefer Shakespeare to their other theatrical offerings. People want what was best about the world. Well, that became a thought for me, really. What would I want? What do I think is best about the world? What do I hold so dear that I would either want to have it with me or I would want to have the memories of it? And it's that I think is interwoven through the lives of these characters. Kirsten, I suppose the central character, who as I said was 8 at the time of the collapse, was acting in a version of King Lear in Toronto, and the lead actor, whose name is Arthur, can't remember his surname, but in the introduction, in the first chapter, Arthur, playing Lear, suddenly and unexpectedly dies on stage. And yet his story, him as a young man, him as a established actor, him as a despondent older man, we meet him in these guises throughout the narrative of the Travelling Symphony. So we have pre-collapse normality, recognisably us and our world, and we have the collapse and all its frightening possibilities. It's a novel which stays with me and has filled my dreams as much as my waking hours. So I can recommend it. I can recommend it with a sort of note of caution, because it is so somehow connected with the new normal. But there we are. Station 11, Emily St. John Mandel. I hope you'll enjoy it. Thanks for listening.